Hey mom, how's it going?
I'm having a great day today. How are you doing, Lynn?
I'm doing good. I'm down here visiting in Hilton Head at the sunny beach, so nothing could be better.
I know we love having you home. It's fantastic. It's like almost like Christmas, but not, right? It's pretty exciting.
Oh, you're funny.
Anyway, so I'm super excited today. I love when we have the opportunity to speak to other powerful, thought provoking, entrepreneurial women. It is like a super incredible treat. So today we have the president of Bunn Insurance, Elle Bunn Lappan, is joining us today, and I could not be more excited. Ellie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me today.
Yeah, we're super excited to get to know you and hear all the things that you are doing. Your agency is located in Virginia, which is correct, right?
Is correct.
So I don't know if you know this, but that's where my husband and I started our life together. We both went to West Virginia University and we moved to Northern Virginia. I was born in Virginia. So Virginia holds a very, very soft spot in my heart. Both of my girls were born in Virginia, which is pretty exciting. So yeah.
That is so awesome. It's a great state. They don't call it Virginia is for lovers for nothing. You can be at the
Yes.
beach in the mountains within 4 hours, and it's a great place to call home.
Yeah. So tell me, Ellie,
Oh, yes.
how did, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm like buffering, so I can't. I'll edit this part out, but I like cannot tell when you guys stop talking. Like, I'm sorry. Might need to move downstairs, but mom, just lead her in and I'll move downstairs and maybe
Okay.
the Wi-Fi will be better.
Perfect. So, Ellie, tell me, why did you even choose insurance? What brought you into this fine industry of ours?
Well, I mean, do we choose insurance or does insurance choose us?
Great
That's the
question.
question. My dad started his career in insurance. Post college, was given the opportunity to work for Nationwide, where they pretty much give you enough to put a little bit of food on the table, see if you can survive. And 35 plus years later, here we are. So once I had graduated from college, I, of course, said, there's no way I'm getting involved in this industry. I really just didn't think that that's what I was going to do. But the opportunity presented itself after college. I was a sports management major. I worked for a professional hockey team down in Charlotte, North Carolina for 3 years. And once I got married and started a family, I realized that I needed a career transition. I needed a little bit more flexibility with my work hours and just availability for my kids. So my dad had a small book of business up in Richmond, Virginia. He said, "Hey, why don't you guys move up here?" My husband was ready to get out of the sports world too. And so when the opportunity presented itself, we jumped at it, and here we are 9 years later.
I love that. I absolutely love it. You
Yeah.
know, insurance gives such an incredible, um, wide variety of opportunities to so many people, right? So, I want to talk a little bit about your agency if that's okay because obviously we're in the hardest market I think I've ever seen, right? I don't know about you, but my career so far is about 15 years in this industry and this is by far the hardest market. Tell me tell me a little bit about the makeup of your agency and then we'll talk about the things that you're doing to deal with the marketplace that we're in and also grow the agency and be prepared for this marketplace.
Yeah. So I run our Richmond operation, kind of have fully run it to the capacity since July of 20. My dad still owns two agencies down in our beach location in Virginia Beach. So between all three offices, we probably have a team of close to 15. I feel like sometimes I can't keep count because when the industry changes, so do employees. But, we've kind of tried to do our best pivot in the best way humanly possible. But my office consists of four girls, and then the office down there has about 11 ladies working for them. So my dad was always a very smart man. He knew that women ran businesses very well. And so he stuck to continuing to employ them. And we have had a great opportunity growing the business and different things like that. But transitioning in this market has been tough. Of course, a lot of people want to go let's throw our hands up and not even touch the personal business that we have and switch to commercial. But 70% of our book is still personal lines. So there's still people that need questions answered and need help and service, and still in a timely manner. You feel like you're kind of on autopilot with the things that you're saying. You want to be able to just press a button and say, here is what's happening right now. Do we study the course? Do we try and shop? Because we have that option as an independent agent. But just kind of educating and navigating our clients and our employees through those waters is kind of challenging, but we're adapting.
Sorry, my gosh. So I would love to talk a little bit about automating your agency because it's impressive that you've been able to automate your agency operations and personal lines, which has such like a high volume of customer transactions. So I guess I want to start with how has automation helped you manage those workflows, or do you use it for customer transactions? Like, what does that look like in your agency?
For sure. The way that my brain functions, I guess we'll kind of drill down and start from the beginning, is I'm a problem solver. So when I find that we as employees have a problem, our clients have a problem, I always am, how do I fix it? How do I make this better for the end user? How do I make it better for the agent that's processing policies and different things like that? And with the use of technology and automation, the opportunities obviously are endless. And it's a matter of picking and choosing what works best for us. Right now, we use kind of a mixed bag of, we have our AMS, which can do some automation, and I use Monday because I felt a need for the back end of the agency. Your AMS doesn't necessarily support doing your bookkeeping and doing marketing task related things outside of servicing clients. And so I found Monday
Right.
and was like, whoa, this is fantastic. It's color coded. So, meaning it looks pretty, which I always like things that look good. And then for our end users, when it comes to the personal lines and navigating those waters right now in this very hard market, we are using things like Salt, which is a fantastic, amazing program. I always say, like, hey, like, you don't have to slip me anything, but like, your company is what dreams are made of, because they make the process easier for our agents. They make it easier for the end user. And it's just the perfect way that we can collect data in a timely manner. We always joke about it, like we'll use it in any way, shape, and form. We can airdrop our link to people when we're at a restaurant or a bar. We can use it as a QR code on a business card, any print material. We text it to people. A problem we always saw was, I'm busy. I'm a teacher, I'm a nurse, and getting that quote information during our business hours was kind of difficult. And it's, instead of sending an email where you're just inputting things, sending my Salt link was exactly what they needed. It's returned back to me in 2 minutes, full on home, auto, any type of RV or boat too. And that data is dropped right into Easy Links, which filters right into Monday, our lead board. And then the whole process is started there in a very easy, smooth way.
I love that. I truly, truly love that. Here's the deal. We live in a world that time is scarce. And if you're like me, I mean, I actually, stayed home with my kids for a while and had this huge network of other moms that, served on the PTO, were raising their kids. We had no time. Like, I don't really care which way you put it. You just don't have time. So I love the idea that you are using tools that allow your customers to engage with you when they want, how they want, and at a time where they'll focus with it and it won't be a nuisance. I actually have an agent that does the same kind of thing for me, and I greatly appreciate it because I can't do things between 9 to 5. Like, I just can't. I have a job, right? So talk to me a little bit about Monday, because the average agency owner might not know what that is and what that does for your business, and
Mhm.
specifically personal lines. Like, what does Monday play a role inside your agency?
Right. So I went to it originally, like I said, because I needed some type of project management tool, task oriented tool that was separate from Bob Smith needs an auto change, logging that in your AMS. And so I found Monday.com. And essentially, it's a project management tool. So it's used by big companies, similar to the Asanas of the world. And the automation is pretty easy to use too. So on the personal line side, our flow is from literal start to finish. It starts in Salt, gets dropped into our management system, and then I have different triggers set up through Zapier and Monday. That then it goes into a leads board, and then via our Monday leads board that we have, the agent can take it through the sales process, which changing a different status update is going to trigger different things, whether that's sending a text message to a client of here we are, here's where we are in the quote process, to hey, they've accepted it, let's send out a Google review request, to they've sold it, which then puts it in their commission board. It literally takes it from start to finish, and then their commissions and sales can be audited by the managers on our team, and making sure that all apps are signed, different things like that. But it's been a vital tool, and especially collaborating between different offices. Maybe somebody's leading getting an appointment with a new carrier, and who's in charge of which process, who's onboarding which employee, and all of our processes kind of get put out through that. And it's just been really, really awesome to be able to use. And their quick data access is key. I like having my data at my fingertips and knowing my numbers whenever I need to pull them.
Amen to that. Know your numbers, people. I cannot stress that enough. Please, please, please know your numbers.
Adopting tech in an agency is a huge cultural change. So what challenges did you encounter when you introduced Monday.com? Because that's not something that everybody's familiar with. It's especially not just specifically for independent agencies. I'm pretty sure that Canva and like Coke, like really big companies use Monday.com for their companies. So how did you decide that that was, what you wanted to use, and how did your staff respond to those technology challenges that you came across when you were trying to make this very generalized project manager work for an independent agency?
They always think that I'm a little bit crazy with the tech, but I think they trust me enough that they know my reasoning behind introducing any type of new tech is always going to be because we want to work smarter, not harder. Again, it all goes back to how can we solve a problem? Why are we doing things in an archaic way when we can do them very simply? And on the agent side, they don't have to know where things connect and how the back end is linked through Zapier or through our management system. All they need to know is which button to click. So when I
Mm-hmm.
do the build out, it makes it so simple for them that, when I have a sales producer, the first thing she does in the morning is she opens up her Monday board and she goes, okay, where's all my statuses on my leads? Where do I need to be reaching out to people? Do I do some follow ups? And it's just a really certain things that are target marketing to, home no autos. We've pulled a list and then used Monday to do that. And then agents can collaborate and see where everybody else is instead of trying to look into our management system and like print a list. And again, it's the archaic way of doing things instead of making it this seamless, beautiful, good dashboard in a way for everything that an insurance agency does. And I use it outside of an insurance agency. I sit on the board of our PTA. I sit on the board for my daughter's softball league, and each other office. We have a whole bunch of different boards within Monday. So all the things that I need to do, it's kind of that's my hub for life. So here's the different
Mm-hmm.
tasks that I have, whether it's work related or personal related.
It's interesting when you adopt this kind of technology. It's funny the different metrics that you end up looking at. Like if you're just using an agency management system, you're going to look at maybe revenue per employee. You're going to look at what is my growth? What's my new business that I've written? What's my lost business that I've written? You're not going to look at retention because they don't track that very well. But my point is, by adopting some of the technology that you have, can you give me an idea of what metrics you look at as an agency owner on a regular basis and what you do with the metrics?
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing that I had quick and easy access to the fastest was where our business is coming from. The old school way of getting personal lines business was always go and find a mortgage company, go and find a realtor, make those partnerships, grow those partnerships. And when I broke it down and was able to very easily see where our lead sources are and where our business is coming from, I immediately 50, which out of all the different things and how people can walk into your agency, with 50% of our new business was coming from current clients. So whether that's they're buying properties and adding additional lines or referring clients into us, we immediately saw a transition of, why am I going to go chase a loan officer who will find another shiny object within, a month or 2 months that might be 1 second faster than the other quote, when you have clients who have supported your small business for years and years and years. And those are where your money spent is. That's where we are rewarding clients and sending out personal cards and different things like that and thanking them for their business, because they're the ones that are driving the business to us at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's just interesting how it changes your business, right? And so in this crazy market, as carriers are changing, as commission rates are changing, as the market's hardening, as options are changing, what has this done? Like, do you feel like it's better prepared you for what we're facing? Or do you, give me an idea? Because I'm assuming your dad's agency did not run this way. Maybe that's not a safe assumption, but I'm guessing that this is tech that you've put in place. Is that accurate?
Yes. So we're going to call them, what is it, late adapters. You have like the people who buy in right away, and then you have them when it plateaus, and then a little bit of a late adapter. They're like, you test it out, see if it'll break, and then maybe we'll figure it out on the back end. Because again, things are changing and the turnover, and I've hired 2 new employees since April. So it's been difficult because we have very quickly come to underwrite our risk ahead of even binding them even harder than we ever had. We trusted people. We really did. We trusted them to give us the right information, how old your roof is, what condition your home is in. And now it's a matter of, before we're writing a new home, at least if it's closing for a loan and maybe they did do an inspection, we're like, I need your inspection report. So we are kind of adding extra precautions and extra steps because we want to guarantee and want their policy to stay in place. We don't want something to happen after the close of business. We want this client for a long time. We want that bundle business because it's going to help them on their cost and just keeping everything, because everybody's worried about their money, keeping the cost of doing business down. So how can we as agents best prepare and educate all of our clients coming into our business too?
Yeah.
Another thing that comes to mind when you're talking about, how your staff doesn't exactly need to know exactly how all the automations work. You were kind of the test dummy. You figure it out and decide if it works, and then we'll try it out. Like, how did you keep up to date with that and learn all of it? Did you just learn like by trial? Did you rely on something specific in order to learn how all this works?
I have a degree in YouTube and Google University.
Yep.
I find that our generation, I'm a millennial, I'm 34 years old. I find that our generation is kind of like, I can't figure out, let me just YouTube it. And I have taught myself so many things just by Googling and YouTubing my life away. And I've even gotten to the point where sometimes my husband is extremely smart. And I always say that's the reason I married him, because he's a genius, that I'm like, I can't even figure out the words I'm supposed to type into the Google search bar. So I'll call him and be like, hey, this is the problem I need to solve. What do I need to be typing into search? But he'll help me on that side. But there's just a vast array of information out there, and so much of it can be easily taught. Obviously, there is so much information that sometimes it's too much, where you're like, whoop, down the rabbit hole. I didn't really need to learn that, but good to know. And then ease of access too between different agents. Being a part of like the IOA community is fantastic, because there's always different things that you can search and ask people, hey, what's worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? Again, it goes back to the collaboration piece. When we as agents can work together and we can say, hey, don't do this because I failed at it and probably wasn't a good idea, cost me a lot of money, but here's what did work for me and here's how I used it. And being able to share that information between each other, it only makes our industry better.
Oh, for sure. And that's one of the things I love so much about this industry, and especially being I'm a Gen Z, but being, the same technology minded like generation in this industry, because there are a lot of people who, if it doesn't integrate and it's not already pre-set up with a template and, click and everything's there, they're not doing it. And it's kind of the like technology puzzle that I like putting together sometimes. I One of the things I'm working on right now is like making HubSpot work with agency Zoom and AMS, and it's not always perfect. Like, I try things and it doesn't work, so then I test it out differently and try it again. And sometimes I Google, but that's not something that's like easily Googleable.
Yeah.
Like if I type in like HubSpot to AMS, there's probably not a lot of people who are Googling that.
Yeah.
So like sometimes you just have to like trial by error, like click around and spend an hour, just looking through the settings and figuring out what's happening, figuring out what you can possibly do. But I totally identify with that. Like that's one of like the fun things about making it up as you go.
Mm-hmm.
Some people really struggle with that, and when something breaks, they're like, "Oh, well, time for some new InsurTech because this isn't working for me anymore."
And that's and like to piggyback off of that too, what's really exciting about the newer companies that are coming out, we just signed up with Adapt API and then with Salt too, with them being, quote unquote startups, different things like that. You have accessibility to people who have ownership in the business, which is exactly who we are as independent agents. We like to be accessible. And so when I have a question, I ask Jonathan, who is, one of the head honchos of Salt, a co-founder of Salt, and he fixes my problem. And it's being a part of beta testing and having access to people who are so willing to help because you believe in their product, and then you're able to give feedback that's only going to make their product better for the next client. So it's the same thing with Jacob at Adapt API. It's that mutual relationship where everybody continues to work together to just make our lives, which are really hard right now in the insurance industry, just a little bit easier.
So, for those that do not know, I actually had the pleasure of knowing Casey from Salt, and I've met the people from Adapt API as well at the One City World Tour in January. He's now been all over the place. But if someone doesn't know what Adapt API is, I'd love for you to share what that means, but not only what it is, but what it means for your agency.
Right. So if anybody's done beginning of day, which again, we've been around for a really long time. So pulling lists, printing things, we're still the agency, which some people will disagree, that makes the phone calls, that makes sure that nobody cancels, the different things like that. And Adapt for me, at least right now, again, I'm in the early stages of kind of trying to figure it out, which we ran into some issues of connecting it to our AMS. And I immediately reached out to Jacob and he was like, oh, I can fix that because Zapier is kind of the connection to all things. But for us,
Zapier for the win.
yes, literally for everything. And for us, it's going to be such a good tool because let's say you don't have, 1,000 policies with one carrier, you have a handful because they're a carrier you got an appointment with that you needed because of some random certain risk that you trickle in. Those are kind of the ones that I feel like us as agents, we tend to forget when we're checking the back end of, oh, who's pending cancel? How are we receiving this information? Where he's going out and with what Adapt is doing is getting all that information and giving it to you in the form of an Excel spreadsheet. So then it's up to us as the agent to determine how we want to use that. It'll flow through Monday for us because we have a unique identifier that it'll connect to. And then as the status changes as far as policy is pending cancel or it's rescinded because they paid, they'll move throughout that process. So whether that's an automated text message going out to them, that we at least are taking, again, saving time, taking that thing off of an agent's plate so that they're not spending time making these phone calls and it's an automated text message with a link to a carrier, different things like that, that just, again, make it easier for the client too. And they still have the choice to call us. You need to call our local phone number and get an agent, please do. We are here for that. But if we can take some things off of our plate and off of agents' plates and put just a little bit back on the client to be able to handle it themselves, that makes our jobs easier.
Not only that, but it's more accurate, and it's, you know, here's the deal, thinking about something differently. And when someone hears putting it back on the client, they might actually think that's a bad thing. But in essence, it actually is probably more accurate. They're able to explain it in a different way, not trying to fill out a question in insurance that they may not understand. I think simplifying that process and also thinking about the things you do inside your agency, that who really needs to do them. Adapt API takes one of those tasks that you don't need to do. Technology can do for you. Therefore, you've got more capacity to do something else, is the way to go. I just had this conversation about the agencies that think the way you're describing are creating capacity, they're creating profitability, they're creating the ability to grow, and it's creating a divide between the agents that are going to do it the old way and those that are thinking about how to innovate. And it's super interesting to watch how that shows up on agents' financials,
Mm-hmm.
how it shows up on their staffing, how it shows up on their options to acquire, to grow by acquisition. By having this infrastructure, you really do put yourself in a different class than those that have not built it, which to me is exciting because I think that it's what's going to be the future of this industry, and it's going to attract younger talent, people who think like you and Lindsay, where it's like, listen, I don't need to know the answer. I just need to know it can work. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what word you said, but is that Googleable? I think we're even like creating new words about how we're going to do this, which is awesome. So I guess, Ellie, I would ask you, if somebody out there doesn't know where to start, how would you suggest they go about becoming more data driven, tech forward in their agency? Like, what advice would you give to them?
I would definitely say sit down and obviously meet with your staff and talk to the agents that are handling the day-to-day business. I 100% am still absolutely involved with everything. We have an after hours agent. That's me. So one day, of course, years down the road, I would love for that not to be me, but our current situation is I serve as that person. But asking your staff and kind of doing a survey of what are your problems? On a day-to-day basis, what's taking up your time? Can you do a time audit where they're literally writing down every 15 minutes, what are they doing? How many times are they answering the phone during the day? What things are they answering for clients? And then kind of taking that data and going, okay, here's a problem that I see. That's what Salt solved for us. A problem was we weren't on their time. So, okay, how do I solve that problem? And I just so happened to stumble upon Salt. It was a connection in my management system in like the marketplace. And I said, what's this? And I clicked on it and I went, ooh, I like that. So I signed up for a demo and I said, this is amazing, and jumped on board, and it solved our problem. And same thing, Adapt API. How do we get beginning of day off of our desk? How do we give our agents time to sell and service and help with sticky claim situations, which is who we are as independent agents? And Adapt API solved that problem. So it's a matter of, take your top three. What are those top three problems that you think you could solve? And then seeing what type of technology could solve that problem, which asking other agents, again, what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, because there are programs out there that are fantastic for some agents and they're not. How old is your book of business? My average age of my book is like 60, because we just have lifelong clients. And I know that they're not all going to adapt to tech. They don't want to go and pay their bill online. They will walk in and still give me a check. So, how do you toy that line of who's my client base? And then how do I appropriately serve my agents who are doing the business too?
Well, in that sense, it's all about identifying who your ideal client is
Mm-hmm.
and what the traits of those ideal clients you need to meet in order for them to do business most.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a word, but I can't get it out.
Efficiently.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. It's like on the tip of my tongue.
I'm here for you.
How to do business with, thank you. How to do business with those, oh my gosh, how to do business with those clients most efficiently in order to serve them and make them happy and keep them coming back. But
And even
totally agree with you there.
and even with the data that we're collecting too, we found that you can drill it down even more. You can get a cancellation report, but why did they cancel? You can get a new business report, but where is this new business coming from? And then what does that package look like? People can talk about SEO and driving leads into Google all day long, but unfortunately for us, we have found almost every single Google lead is a single auto risk that will leave you in 6 months to a year because they go and shop and get back with, the Geicos or, Progressive Directs of the world. And so it's like, well, I don't need to spend my time spinning my wheels on trying to drive business, to our Google listing and different things like that when we know that we can reward our clients because those are the accounts that are bringing in the home, the auto full package deal and asking for the life insurance policy. So again, it's catering to and putting money back in people's pockets who are putting money in yours. So supporting them and thanking them for what they're doing.
So what I've loved so much about this conversation, Ellie, is a lot of people are focused on commercials, small commercial, you got to do this. Tech works regardless of what type of agency you have. It's not the same tech. Like, notice we didn't talk about Tarmica today. I'm not saying that Tarmica is bad. It's just, it's a commercial rater. It's not something that's going to be in your agency. My point is there's ways to innovate and be great independent agents, regardless of what your makeup is. You just have to think about the problem, solve the problem, and adopt the things that are going to create efficiency inside your agency. And the beauty of this industry is it's not a one size fits all. Like, that is super exciting for me. And I'm with you. I love that there's new innovative technology that's coming into the industry. I sometimes think it's a bit noisy, but it's great to hear agents that are finding great value and being able to implement it and see major impacts happening to their business. I get to see it on their financial statements and the value of their business, which is exciting. So here's the deal. I'm sure that you have mentors in this industry, but I'm also sure that there are plenty of other agents that would love to pick your brain and talk to you and have you mentor them as they're trying to go through this process. So if an agent is listening to this and they're like, man, she's smart, I'd love to talk to her, how would they reach out and find you?
Well, that's a really high compliment. And I greatly appreciate that because I feel like sometimes I'm still in kind of like my infancy of really running a business. So that is the highest compliment possible. But I mean, you can Google me and you can send me an email. You can shoot me a text message. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever you want. Our Instagram, we like to keep it light here in this insurance industry. So if you ever follow our Bunn Insurance Richmond location on Instagram, we sprinkle, not sprinkle, we kind of douse humor in with being an insurance agent for sure. I was like, I have 2 full sleeves of tattoos. I'm a young agent, and I'm like, this is our brand. Like, this is who we are. When you walk into our office, we have wallpaper. You can't see the disco balls, but there's a disco ball on the ceiling. We like to make this very sometimes if anybody ever wants to reach out, I'm always more than happy. Again, community over competition, the collaboration and the effort that we can put in to make each other better is just the best thing in the world.
Well, I'm pretty confident you just got 2 Instagram followers without question, and many, many more if they were listening to that. I absolutely love that you're putting a little fun into it. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I think that a lot of agents don't know where to start, and I think you gave them a lot to think about today. So thank you so much for being our guest.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.